the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Will the House please come to order? Members, after conferring with House leadership, I'm going to share with you the next three bills we are going to take up. We will do these in groups. I appreciate your patience. We will now take up House Bill 933, which is miscellaneous administrative and policy changes to tax laws. After that, we will move to House Bill 949, which is an act relating to homestead property tax yields and the non-homestead property tax rate. And then we will move to House Bill 944, which is the T-bill. So again, 933, 949, and 944. So members, now we'll take up House Bill 933, which is an act relating to miscellaneous administrative and policy changes to the tax laws. Members, before we postpone action on this bill yesterday, we had just heard the report of the Committee on Ways and Means, and now we are ready to hear the report from Appropriations. Speaking for the Committee on Appropriations, member from Bennington.
Madam Speaker, H 933 impacts the appropriations of the state and the general fund in a number of ways. The down payment assistance program at $350,000 and the expansion of the downtown and village center tax credit at $1 million both represent foregone income to the general fund. The 10-year tax study will require a $100,000 appropriation. Sections 50 through 53 touch again on the $3.4 million funds for municipalities' grand list maintenance that was discussed in some detail that comes out of pilot in this that was discussed previously in the budget. And altogether, when considering the federal tax link-up and decoupling changes, as well as the adjusted distribution amounts for meals and rooms tax, H 933 will have a net positive impact to the general fund of $9.4 million over fiscal year 26 and 27. For these changes, the Appropriations Committee thanks Ways and Means, and the committee supported this bill with a vote of 11-0-0.
And now the member from Corinth, Representative Taglavia, offers an amendment to the bill that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Corinth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I read the amendment, I just wanted to do a little recap. We heard 933 written yesterday, or read yesterday. We deliberated a lot about the yield bill, and we talked a lot about education, the cost of education. Today, we talked a lot about the budget and the back and forth about what would get cut and what would get put in. I bring this amendment because this is it has a potential to benefit students in Vermont. Think of when you would drive down the road during school budget season and see the sign, the road sign, support our schools. How about support our students? That's why this amendment today. And I'll read you the amendment. My amendment strikes out sections 18 and 19 in H 933, federal tax credit for SGO contributions in their entireties, and inserting it in lieu thereof, new sections 18 and 19 to read as follows. Section 18, 3 VSA subsection 24 is added to read. Subsection 24, governor's list of scholarship granting organizations. Annually, on December 1, the governor or designee may elect to provide a list of organizations to the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury for purposes of making the federal qualified elementary and secondary education scholarship tax credit available for Vermont taxpayer contributions to Vermont scholarship granting organizations under 26 U.S.C. subsection 25F. It shall be presumed that an organization listed in the previous year will be listed in the subsequent year unless the governor finds that the organization has failed to meet the requirements of 26 U.S.C. subsection 25F. Section 19 would be deleted. Excuse me. The reason I present this amendment is for the benefit of the students. This tax credit will be available to Vermont taxpayers, but they will only be able to donate to out-of-state schools, so there will be no benefit, scholarship benefit to the students. My ask is, in this tough tax season, in this tough economy for Vermonters, let's give the students an advantage, let's give the taxpayer a break. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And now speaking for the Committee on Ways and Means, member from Woodstock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the member for the amendment that he offered. This amendment places the authority to opt into the Education Choice for Children Act to the governor, not the legislature. Our vote in committee was to retain issues of tax policy within the purview of the legislative branch, not the executive branch. This is consistent with the norms and practices of the Vermont state government. As mentioned before, the rules guiding the allowable uses of funds distributed by scholarship granting organizations are not yet finalized. While we may consider placing limitations on the use of such funds, the federal government may override those limitations, preempting what we decide to do here. What is different about this particular program from other scholarship programs is that every dollar donated, up to $1,700, is a tax credit, a direct application of the amount against the taxes they owe. This is out of step with the regular treatment of donations to charitable organization, where the donation is a reduction of income that is subject to taxation, rather than a direct reduction in the amount of taxes you owe. The federal act authorizes $10 billion in federal credits in 2026, with provisions for 5% annual increases after that. That compares to the two largest federal funding streams in K-12 education, Title I programs at $18 billion and the Individuals with Disabilities Act of $15 billion. This is an enormous tax avoidance program for individuals who least need it. Yet the system is still in pre-implementation phase. While guidance has been issued, the rules are not yet finalized and are still in development. This program is not yet fully baked. It's helpful to compare what a 529 plan is as opposed to the the ECCA for SGOs. A 529 plan is a tax advantage savings plan account, where an ECCA is a federal tax credit for donations for scholarships. In a 529, families or anyone saving for a beneficiary contributes to it, where an SGO, it's private donors, individual taxpayers. Who benefits? In a 529, the account beneficiary. In an SGO, eligible K-12 students or an income-based priority who can earn up to 300% of the adjusted median income, which is approximately $82,000 for Vermont. So you're talking about $246,000. The tax benefit in a 529 plan is tax-free growth and withdrawals for education, whereas in the SGO, it's dollar for dollar federal tax credit. So, Madam Speaker, I say that this program is not just about tax policy, it's also about education policy, supporting a voucher system that is unregulated and creating a parallel system of financing for education that could subvert public education. Our vote in committee was to find it unfavorable by a vote of 7-4.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the member from Corinth? Are you ready for the question? Member from Northfield.
Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the member from Ways and Means?
The member from Woodstock is interrogated.
I was going to ask about this section of the bill when we got to debate, but it's brought it up sooner. And I'm just wondering why, particularly hearing that the program isn't really established yet or isn't in final form, why we would be precluding potential future decision to participate. I certainly agree and support sections A and C here, but I'm not understanding the rationale, which then relates to why not moving forward on the amendment being offered.
Thank you for the question, member. Really, it's a question of who decides to opt in or not. In the Ways and Means bill and 933, it is the legislature that reserves for itself the ability to opt into the program. In the amendment, it is the governor or designee. And so we felt strongly that it should be the legislature that is opting in, not the governor.
I thank the member. So it sounds like my question is something to wait for later. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the member from Corinth? Member from Corinth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With regard to the language referring to the governor rather than the legislature, just as my current amendment is very short, a simple amendment changing a couple of words here would make the amendment to designate the legislature, and I'm hopeful that should my amendment pass, I would be glad to, on third reading, present an amendment correcting that language. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the member from Corinth? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it, and you have declined to amend the bill. Now, the member from Bradford, Representative Priestley, and the member from Hartford, Representative Cole, offer an amendment to the bill that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Bradford.
Madam Speaker, I was describing to someone recently the conversations I have as a representative. I said that this issue, taxing the wealthiest Vermonters at a fairer share, is the #1 request I get from constituents. Then I stopped myself. That word wasn't right. This is the #1 demand I receive from constituents. And it doesn't come from one group or one corner of the political spectrum. It comes from Vermonters across all socioeconomic backgrounds. It comes from people who call themselves progressive and people who call themselves conservative. What they share is a sense that something has gone wrong, and that for decades their state and federal government hasn't acknowledged the issue or taken action on it. We have all watched program after program come before our committees with real needs and not enough resources to meet them. Critical programs. Programs affecting children, families, housing, health, education. Too often we make painful choices or defer them because the money is not there. And yet we are sitting on an option. This amendment adds 2 new tax brackets. It increases taxes on marginal income over $500,000 by 3%, on marginal income over $1 million, an additional 2%. It would raise between $100 million and $200 million in state revenue. Here is what I want every member of this body to hold on to about who this affects and what it actually costs them. The top 1% of Vermont taxpayers are receiving an average federal tax cut of $57,000 in 2026 due to H.R. 1. In total, Vermont's top 1% will save over $200 million in federal taxes this year. The top 20% will save over $730 million. What we are asking on average is that the affected taxpayers contribute back less than the federal windfall they are already receiving. We are not asking for sacrifice. We are asking for basic fairness. Look at what we know about income in this state. The average income of Vermont's top 1% is 20 times that of the bottom 99%. Vermont's wealthiest currently pay a smaller share of their income in state and local taxes than many middle-income Vermonters. Wealth has concentrated at the top for decades. The top levels of our tax structure have not kept pace with that. We talk in this building about fiscal responsibility. I share that value. But fiscal responsibility is not only about what we spend. It means making sure our revenues are sustainable, that they reflect the actual distribution of income and wealth in our state, and that we are not asking the people with the least to carry the heaviest load. Congress and the President have taken the programs that serve working families and directed those resources to tax cuts for the wealthiest. We do not have to follow their lead. We have an opportunity to do the opposite, to recapture a portion of those federal tax cuts and redirect them towards investments that serve all Vermonters. I know this is politically complicated. I know some members are uncomfortable with it. I want to ask, who are we nervous about? Because taxing the wealthiest at a fairer rate is broadly popular, not just among progressives, but also among low and moderate income Vermonters, working class families, and a wide majority of the people we represent. The people demanding this are not a fringe. They are our constituents, and they sent us here. We handle bills in this chamber every day where policy and politics are in tension. In this case, I think we are too focused on the politics. We are too cautious about making a move that Vermonters across every income level are urging us to make. We can build a Vermont that works for everyone, but it takes choices that back that up. This is one of those choices. That said, we respect that our Committee on Ways and Means, as well as the body as a whole, needs more time to thoroughly consider these substantive updates to our state's tax policy. The following was agreed upon between the sponsors of the amendment and House leadership. 2 amendments proposed by Rep. Logan and Reps. Priestley and Cole will be withdrawn today. Those 2 tax policies will have action taken as a Ways and Means committee bill as soon as the other major education bills have passed the floor. Those have agreed that these 2 policies will be voted on in House Ways and Means with time on the calendar to make its way through the full General Assembly, understanding that passage is contingent on a majority vote from the House. We thank House leadership for this discussion, and with that, I yield to the member from Hartford.
The member from Bradford yields to the member from Hartford.
Madam Speaker, while we will be withdrawing this amendment, I'm grateful that this important legislation will have the opportunity to face full consideration by the House through the committee process. Over the past 24 hours, constituents have made it clear how much fairer taxation means to them. I think it is important to highlight the urgency and context tied to this particular policy. Though our country has been charting the path of widening wealth inequality since the 1970s, we have now entered new territory. The United States has not seen this level of wealth and income concentration since the late 1920s. My generation is frequently cited as the first in recent history where a majority of us face lower economic mobility and lower purchasing power than our parents or previous generations at the same age. I hope most of us would agree that this trend is not coming to fruition because a historically small fraction of Americans are working exceptionally harder than the rest, or even exponentially harder than that same bracket of top earners just a few decades ago. Other systemic forces are at play here. We know that current tax policy in Vermont favors the wealthiest while placing the highest relative burden on middle-income earners. The top 1% of earners, those who earn at least $500,000 a year in income alone, currently pay a smaller share of their income in state and local taxes than middle-income Vermonters. On top of this, the vast majority of permanent tax benefits in H.R. 1 flow to the wealthiest of households. In Vermont, almost 20% of the tax breaks in H.R. 1 are going to just the top 1%, and 43% are going to just the top 5%. In Vermont, this amounts to $200 million of new breaks applying only to the top 1%, with an average benefit of $57,000 per filer. This amendment to H933 would have created 2 new tax brackets as a mechanism to more accurately discern what people can actually afford in order to distribute the weight more fairly. Right now, our tax brackets max out at around $312,000 in income, indicating a need for our tax code to modernize, particularly in the face of skyrocketing wealth inequality. This first new bracket proposed would begin for those with incomes over $500,000. The second bracket would begin at incomes of $1 million and above. It would increase the personal income tax rate by 3% for the first bracket, an additional 2% for the higher bracket, those who are earning over $1 million annually, so that those higher earners would finally contribute incrementally more than those who earn less. This step would provide the necessary foundation to steer away from the undue burden we currently place on middle-income property owners. I am proud of the work that our Vermont legislature has accomplished to insulate the lowest tier of income earners from the regressivity of the property tax burden. But until we apply that gradient of progressive taxation to the rest of the income spectrum, we sustain an increased risk of losing working families. Skeptics of taxing the top tier of income earners more equitably often cite the concern of tax flight. I think this might be a valid concern, but not for the demographic indicated. We are more likely to lose middle-income Vermonters as a direct result of failing to tax each income tier in alignment with what they can actually afford. The wealthiest will continue to have the greatest degree of financial freedom to make the choice to reside in our beautiful state. And in other states where similar brackets have been implemented, people have stayed. If the two tax brackets proposed in this amendment were to be created, the wealthiest Vermonters would still enjoy disproportionate tax benefits from H.R. 1 compared to most of our state's population. Those earning between $500,000 and $1 million would still pocket new breaks. To zoom out, even if we were to pass this amendment, we would still be sustaining policy that contributes to a widening wealth gap. Vermont is contending with federal funding cuts that will drastically impact our state budget for years to come. At the same time, we face a confluence of immense revenue needs, ranging from our transportation fund shortfalls to IT updates that would increase our government's efficiency, to healthcare and housing affordability, to school construction. In my committee, H.R. 1 cuts to Medicaid and new state match requirements are having a tremendous impact on our budget and Vermonters' health. Increasingly, decisions about federal funding to our state, including disaster relief, have been politicized and are therefore unpredictable. Further responsibilities will be pushed onto state budgets in out years. And while we can do our best to minimize costs through policy guardrails and austerity, there is no question that we will also need to generate revenue to fund these huge long-term investments. I hope that House members can recognize the urgency necessary to meet this moment. We look forward to the body's discussions on this legislation, and I respectfully withdraw our amendment.
Absent objection, leave is granted. Now the member from Woodstock, Representative Kimball, and the member from Brattleboro, Representative Kornheiser, offer an amendment to the bill that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Woodstock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You can find, members may find the amendment on page 1611 of today's calendar. And this is to correct two things. One is when we originally had H933 coming through our committee and we looked at the small qualified business stock sales, we did not intend to have those capital gains realized from those sales exempt from the exclusion normal treatment with in the Vermont tax code. The way that we worded the bill is that we did exclude the normal treatment from the Vermont tax code. And so the language here in the first and second instance of amendment is to apply any income gained from the sale of small business or qualified small business stock to the Vermont income tax code. The third instance of amendment is really to change effective dates on advice of Ledge Counsel, is to make it abundantly clear as to when these effective dates are ironclad so that there's no doubt about when, especially in number 7, notwithstanding, as to when they're effective, so it wouldn't create any kind of confusion for tax filers. So it does go back to January 1st, 2025 for many of the effective dates, but the effective date of the link up shall take effect retroactively on January 1st, 2026, shall apply to taxable years beginning on and after January 1st, 2025. We had it as September 31st, and we said, let's be really clear about this and making it January 1st. So those are the three instances of amendment, and our committee voted 7-4 to 0, and we ask for your support.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the member from Woodstock and the member from Brattleboro? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, may I inquire of the presenter of the bill?
The member from Woodstock is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, I am looking at the fiscal note, which is really helpful for this bill. And I want to ask about sections 50 through 53 and the property valuation review. These are paid for through pilot funds, correct?
So, thank you, Madam Speaker. That section of the bill, I was going to get the bill out myself, but I think I can remember it off the top of my head. It does clarify as to where the funds are coming from to pay for three different things that are through the property valuation review. However, first is the $100,000 that's paid for lister and assessor education, and that is currently coming out of the general fund, I believe. The $8.50 per parcel that is paid to the towns and municipalities to help with their grand list maintenance and also the cost of reappraisal. That is currently coming out of the education fund and is unclear in the bill, and this clarifies as to where the remaining part of that section is coming from. $1 per parcel for assistance with the equalization study, which is done every year, where the municipality has to coordinate with the Department of Taxes to figure out what this common level of appraisal is.
Madam Speaker, where is that third piece coming out of currently?
It is not clear in statute, so we're making very clear as to where it is coming from now.
And where did it come from in the last 3 years?
I would have to take a brief recess to confer with the Joint Fiscal Office.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The House will stand in recess for a moment. Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Member from Woodstock.
Madam Speaker, thank you. After conferring with the Joint Fiscal Office, because I wanted to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing, that $1 per parcel has been coming out of the general fund. And so this clarifies as to where it's coming from. It's not in statute language, but that's practically where it's been coming from.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Did the committee take any testimony or have any justification for the rationale of moving from the general fund to the pilot fund?
Thank you for that question. No, in the budgetary process with the Budget Adjustment Act, that was where the monies were first taken out of the pilot fund for the Budget Adjustment Act, which we all voted on and passed. And this language is really to make it explicitly permissible in order for those funds to come out of the pilot fund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to make sure that I understand this language would make this cost shift permanent.
As permanent as anything in this chamber is, Madam Speaker, yes.
So it is not a one-time shift. This is a change to statute. Is that right?
That is true. It is in statute, yes.
Okay. Madam Speaker, one last question. Did the committee take any testimony from any of the towns that collect the local option tax or from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns about this section of H 933?
Thank you for that question. We didn't take testimony from those individuals. We did take testimony from the Joint Fiscal Office on the sufficiency of the pilot fund and trying to determine what the balance was. Are the payments going out to those municipalities that have state-owned office buildings? Are they being compensated at the rate that is in statute? And the answer was yes. And there was sufficient funds to fund those payments going into the future. We did not talk to the municipalities themselves, no.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'll make this brief. I think that this is a problem going forward. I'll be bringing an amendment on third reading about putting this language permanently in statute. And I think it's imperative that we talk to the people that we're taxing that had to go to their towns and get permission, convince their voters that this was the right thing to do. And when we make a shift in policy, which is a shift in the promise about how this is all going to work, I think it's imperative that we talk to those towns or talk to their towns entity like Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And so I hope that, I know we have more and more towns that are raising these local option taxes. It does not appear that we are moving fast enough to reduce this surplus. And I encourage all those committees that are working on this to engage with the towns and the LCT on this. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question, member from Northfield?
I'll just briefly supplement them by a bit of a reference to our process. We just heard some discussion in the last half hour about the importance of vetting, of understanding issues. I think the norm, the standard we usually use is that we want to hear from all those affected when we make policy changes. And it's very disappointing. I know it's disappointing to my town and others involved that this decision would have been made without seeking out their input on it. Thank you.
Member from Swanton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to reference to section 62 and 63, in specifically the maybe a preview of the T-bill that's coming forward, that we have spent, as your House Transportation Committee, spent a significant amount of time working throughout the body to understand the challenges facing the transportation revenue, declining revenues, and the challenge that you'll hear much more about. But I want to thank the Ways and Means Committee and the Appropriations Committee for the work that's in Section 62 and 63 to recognize that we have a structural problem in transportation funding and that we have taken steps last year, the year before, last year, and again this year in this section to provide additional long-term funding for transportation. It is probably not the full answer yet, and it's not going to solve all of our problems going forward, but incremental progress is important, and I want to recognize the work on that particular piece. And as we continue to solve the transportation funding, Section 62 and 63 are critical. And the last piece is there are two items on the table to get you ready for H944, if you can get them in the break without holding us up too long. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Woodstock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to clarify a couple things about the pilot fund. So this is the payment in lieu of taxes. It was established even before the local options taxes were made available. And in that agreement, the share with the local towns has changed over time. At one point, it was 40% being retained by the state and 60% going to the participating municipalities. Last year, this body voted to change that share from 30% going back to being retained by the state down to 25%, increasing the amount of the share going back to the municipalities collecting the tax. That is not changing in this bill. There is nothing changing that's going to change the amount of revenue that is going to those participating municipalities. And so it is the use of the state's portion of that, which is changing. So I just want to make sure that the body is not confused about that. This is not depriving those communities of the money that is owed them through the current agreement.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Member from West Windsor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Clarifying question for the member from Woodstock.
The member from Woodstock is interrogated.
Last year, when the share was reduced from 30% to 25%, was there a surplus?
Yes, thank you for that question. There was a surplus at that point in time, and there was also a commitment from the legislature to take $1 million from the fund at that point in time to fund the municipal grand list stabilization fund for those communities that were flooded. So there was a surplus at that time. There still remains a surplus.
And what was the surplus last year?
I believe it was estimated, thank you, member, I believe it was estimated anywhere from $10 million to $12 million. So I don't have the exact figures on hand.
Thank you, member. And I wonder whether you have any knowledge of why towns tend to vote in favor of the local option tax.
Well, this could get quite philosophical. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So there's a few things at work. The 1% local options tax provides municipalities, when it was first enacted, with an opportunity to try to defray increased property taxes caused by Act 67. We've made several changes to the local options tax since then, even requiring towns without a charter to be able to vote and embrace a local options tax. Some of the towns are using that local options tax for different things in different municipalities. My own established a local options tax to pay for an economic development fund to try to diversify the economy and increase the population. Other towns are using it specifically for infrastructure. I believe Stowe, for a time, had dedicated money to pay for their new hockey arena, but also to defray some of their infrastructure costs. Manchester was applying it 100% to defray their property taxes. So every town has a different motive for adopting a local options tax, and more towns are seeking them as another source of revenue to pay for the things that they deem are necessary.
Thank you, member. Just to clarify, I would say that many of the towns that, having spoken to a few of the town select boards and my own town being one of the towns that struggled to, and then successfully did adopt two of the local option tax possibilities. I would say that for many towns this year, the reason that was presented to voters, and I believe to be true, was that the towns could not afford their local property taxes, and it was an effort to buy down the local property tax rate. It is for this reason specifically that I find use of the surplus to. I'm sorry, member. I'm not asking a question. I'm just telling you what I think. It's for this reason that I think that it's unfortunate that you didn't take testimony from towns about use of the surplus that they raised and ask them whether they think it's okay to be used for other purposes. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question, member from Berry City?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I was a city councilor for 14 years, and as part of that time frame, I went through the process of trying to work with my community to get us to pass local options tax 3 times. We were finally able to get it, and it was a process. And the one thing that I remember during that whole process was the 30% going to the state to help pay for the pilot and help pay for the administration of these funds. And I had no idea at the time, and I had no idea until like today, that there was this accumulation of funds happening that I spent a lot of time working to get passed in our community. And based on the last town meeting day, a lot of our communities are going to feel that as well. I believe that these funds should be going back to our communities and should not be set up in statute like this. Thank you.
Member from Brattleboro.
Madam Speaker, it's been hard for our committee assistant particularly, but also for the reporters of bills this session. We taken a lot of testimony all session and put a lot of that testimony into a few select bills. And so the witness lists get a little confused sometimes, or narrowed, I would say. But I will say that the League of Cities and Towns has spent quite a bit of time in our committee today, and they have given testimony, as have the Listers Association and other municipal officials, on these exact payments that we're discussing, the need for them, the appropriate cost for them, and how that money is spent by towns. We had planned a subsequent hearing on Tuesday, but we were too long on this lovely floor and needed to reschedule it. It is tomorrow afternoon for anyone who wants to tune in.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? Member from Newberry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I inquire the presenter, please?
The member from Woodstock is interrogated.
Can you just clarify for me what this pilot money is used for that we were talking about?
Yes, thank you, member. So payment in lieu of taxes is to compensate communities for the property taxes they cannot collect on state-owned buildings and lands. And so the pilot fund, when it started out, was to try to provide that source of revenue to municipalities because they could not get the revenue from those buildings. It was not fully funded until, I think, 2024. And before that, it was always a portion of the money that would be owed to the municipality based on a couple of things. One is the replacement cost of the buildings that the state owned, and the other is the value of the state lands. So that is really the purpose of the pilot fund itself, or the pilot program, the payment in lieu of taxes, is to provide municipalities with that revenue.
Thank you. So the money that we're talking about in this being collected through the local options tax, that goes for all state-owned land as well? I was under the belief that the land portion came separately. And this was for buildings.
Yes, thank you. There is a payment that is also, payments are made out of the pilot fund for both of those, both lands and for buildings. The Agency of Natural Resources is involved, and I'd have to confer as to say how they are involved. Can't answer that exactly right yet.
Okay. I guess my concern that I think I spoke about last year maybe. I know we say that the towns are getting the full amount of money that they're supposed to be receiving. The pilot money is being fulfilled properly. My concern is just we're fulfilling the amount for the buildings that we're supposed to be paying to these towns, but that's based on our own equation. I'm curious, have you heard anything about towns feeling like they are not being fully compensated for those state-owned buildings as we assess them?
Thank you, Member. We did not take testimony in this particular session so far about that issue. There have been some cases that we are familiar with where the calculation of the payment to the municipality varies with what the CLA is doing, is varying with what the grand list is doing. And so in some cases, and whether state college campuses, the payment actually declined from one year to the next. So we know that the calculation of that payment was not meeting the needs of that community. But Until we rejigger that particular calculation, the funds are sufficient to pay for the allocation of payments to the pilot fund, to those communities. I have a spreadsheet that's enormously huge of the amount, every community that receives a payment. And I was surprised, member, to find that my own community was on there, and that was because there was a state-owned garage for land, for sand and salt located in the community. So Woodstock is receiving a payment as well.
Okay, thank you, member. Madam Speaker, that is one of my biggest concerns with this, is that our equation that we're using, whether it's for state-owned buildings, beautiful places like the Groton State Forest, that we're not fulfilling the hole that we're creating by untaxable land in these towns. I'm just concerned that if we were like, for instance, the current use program, that makes the town whole when people put their land in that. I have concerns that the pilot program does not, which is why there is possibly a surplus. However, I could be completely wrong because we haven't done that look, apparently. So I can't support this, unfortunately. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? Member from Pownell.
The member from Woodstock can relax and stay seated. In any bill of over 60 sections, we will find things that draw our attention. As an economic development planner for the last decade, I am thoroughly thrilled to see Section 58, the Research and Development Tax Credit expansion, in which the state of Vermont goes from eligibility, let me just pull this up here, from its current 27% of the federal credit allowed for eligible research and development expenses to 75%, an extraordinary leap, and one that can help our rural economies further insulate themselves from economic shocks and add resilience to regional economies by bringing in innovation that is sorely needed, innovation that we have a home for, one that lets our businesses that are operating with innovation to really rev the engine. It's something that I didn't think I'd be able to talk much about in this work, and I am profoundly grateful to the committee for giving me that opportunity when I go back to Bennington County. I'll be voting yes on 933. I urge others to do the same.
Member from Stowe.
Madam Speaker, I just feel it's probably important for me to be transparent and communicate to not to the member from Woodstock, but others that have asked questions, what communities do with these local option taxes. And when I say transparent, I'm working with Ledge Council and sponsoring a bill to seek approval for 2 additional local option taxes of 1% in my community of Stowe. And we currently have a 1% rooms, meals, and alcohol tax, and we also have a 1% local option sales tax. At our town meeting, we voted for an additional 1% in each of those categories. So the answer is why. And to the member from West Windsor who asked the question, and I'm going to compliment the member from Woodstock in his astute knowledge of how we originally, in the room and meals tax, justified it, and that was to try to upgrade some of our community infrastructure. We're a robust tourist community, and we use a lot of those funds to pay for a 20-year bond for municipally owned hockey arena. We also use those funds a portion of those funds to bury overhead power lines on 3 blocks of Main Street, because it's probably the most photographed tourist, particularly of the community church steeple. And we continue to be with all of this consolidation of ski areas with Epic and Altera. Our community gets thousands of visitors a day, and our community infrastructure like culverts, roads, bridges that, as the member from Swanton pointed out, our T-bill is underwater, and so are municipal highway budgets and infrastructure that is failing and is beyond capacity. Some of these funds for these new ones may go to support public water and public sewer projects that exist that are in dire need of upgrade and maintenance. So this is very important in this time with reduced federal funding and an inability to get the kind of bridge repair and culvert repair in the T-bill, Madam Speaker, that a number of municipalities recently jumped on this source of revenue. My neighboring community of Morristown has been struggling with its degraded road, bridge, and culvert system. So this is a way for communities, particularly that have to accommodate thousands of visitors in a given day, both in foliage season, winter season, and even summer, to help maintain a base level of our community infrastructure. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Stowe. Member from Northfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wanted to clarify or ask for a clarification on something that was said a few moments ago. If I could interrogate the chair of the Ways and Means Committee.
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I heard correctly, the League of Cities and Towns was present today, and this issue was discussed and is going to be there tomorrow for dialogue on it. Was that correct?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have had them in committee quite a bit this year on the issue of the costs of listing and assessing and how much an appropriate payment was. We planned a hearing for Tuesday for the full afternoon on this issue, inviting towns and the league and the Lake Champlain Chamber and a number of other folks. That was planned for Tuesday afternoon and was canceled because we were on the floor for so long. We have that rescheduled for tomorrow afternoon if folks want to tune into that.
Okay, so perhaps I misunderstood. In other words, that this is not testimony or discussion of the uses of the local options tax. Is that right?
No, that is not what I was referencing. The testimony scheduled for Tuesday and for tomorrow is about the local option tax and the pilot fund. The testimony we took from the league was about the need for listing and assessing and the appropriate amount of money needed to be spent there.
So the testimony that's coming up, that's being scheduled, you're saying that is about the local options tax and the assessment needs? I'm still a little lost, sorry.
I'm sorry if I'm being confusing. We had testimony scheduled for Tuesday, the Tuesday that passed. It was a block of testimony. We've rescheduled that exact block of testimony for tomorrow afternoon, if today is Thursday and tomorrow is Friday, which I think is true. That testimony is about local option taxes and the pilot fund, both topics. And we have invited communities who have local option taxes, and we have invited the League of Cities and Towns, the Lake Champlain Chamber of Commerce, and staff is going to begin that hearing with an overview of the pilot special fund and how local option taxes work. We took that testimony from staff much earlier this session and last session when we made the adjustment to increase the share to towns of the local option tax revenue.
I thank the member. That is what I thought I heard, and it's sort of hard to figure out because the decision of the committee is already in a bill before this House, but there's going to be testimony that wasn't taken previously on the exact topics of the options tax and the pilot fund, which seems to me to be very integral to the decision already made in this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Member from St. Albans Town.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I represent St. Albans. I've lived there over 50 years, and we have a correctional center and a large parcel of land. We have a state garage. We had, at one point, a large park on the lake that belonged to the state that's now the town park. But we have been getting pilot money as long as probably the legislature created pilot. I'm not sure how much we got. I'm sorry my colleague here from the district is not here because he was a selectman through much of that time. He would probably be able to tell you exactly how much we got. However, we also did a local option tax a few years ago. I brought in the charter. We created a charter for the town. We're not a big destination. We have a little bit of tourism. We're not rich. We don't have all the skiers and all of the, Woodstock and all the people like that. I can say that because he grew up in St. Albans. However, we are not a wealthy community. We are a farming area. So it was important to get this local option tax because we have a lot of needs. If you recall, we had the clean water issue. We were all in on trying to clean up the water. St. Albans Bay is in my district. We have impaired waterways that go into the lake. We have public safety issues. We don't have a police force. We keep going back between the sheriff and maybe working with someone else. But we have a lot of infrastructure. We don't have water and sewer in most of the town. So in fact, in all of the town, we use the stuff from the city. So the local option tax was designed not to lower property taxes per se, but to give us some money so that we could do the things we knew we had to do. Build infrastructure, create public safety environment for our community, clean up the lake, deal with impaired waters. It would take some of the pressure off the taxpayers. And we had just enough, retail to be able to make some money on it. Now, I realize that as soon as you have something like the pilot money coming in for these local option taxes from all over these communities in the state, you're going to grow the pilot fund, and that may be good because that means that we can go and maybe pay what we really are supposed to pay for these communities that are hosting these state properties. But I think that this is not just something for ski areas or wealthy towns. This is something that a lot of smaller towns can use to do the things we need to do for our public safety, our infrastructure, cleaning up the water, other things that are just really bread and butter items that our communities need. So I would like to say, I'd like to see that pilot list that the representative from Woodstock has, because I'd like to see and I'd like to check with my partner here in the district, because he would know. But I think we have to think about the pilot as something that has a real purpose and that is valuable.
Are you ready for the question, member from Woodstock?
Madam Speaker, I'd offer to members, I will circulate a spreadsheet with a list for so everyone can see how much their municipality may be saving. It may take me a day or two in order to get the other list, which is who's also contributing. So I think those two things may be interesting. Thank you.
Member from Swan.
Madam Speaker, as the representative of the town whose mailing address is the prison that was referred to by the St. Albans town representative and whose view from the front porch includes the lights of that particular prison, the pilot in lieu of payment of taxes amount is $40,000, was established in 1997 and has not changed one penny. Thank you very much.
Member from Berry City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We had a conversation about what municipalities do with them, these funds, specifically the local options taxes. And I think of Berry City, which is 4 square miles, which is getting smaller due to legislation for wetlands and due to our FEMA buyouts. That money goes away. And we have to pay for a full police force, a fire department, public works. The local options taxes in Berry City is used for roads, for infrastructure, the stuff that we drive on, the things that is tangible that everybody touches and really supports. And I just reiterate, when I went through those 3 votes, the the 30%, some reason I was always thinking it was 25. That's my memory. That money was going to the pilot, which comes back to the communities, and the money to administer the actual program. And I look forward to the amendment that the representative from Dover has mentioned.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, now we'll turn to House Bill 949, which is an act relating to homestead property tax yields and the non-homestead property tax rate and technical changes to education finance. Prior to third reading, the member from Burlington, Representative Logan, and others offer an amendment to the bill that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I rise today regarding the amendment to H 949 submitted by the House Progressive Caucus. At its core, this amendment is about fairness, about ensuring that income derived from wealth is increasingly treated with the same seriousness as income derived from work, and about strengthening the long-term sustainability of our education fund. This amendment would have asked that high-income Vermonters pay a wealth proceeds tax of 4% on the passive income that they receive from their investments. The wealth proceeds tax would piggyback on an already existing federal tax, the net investment income tax, and would simply adopt that federal form for state purposes. The wealth proceeds tax of this type has already been implemented in Minnesota. The wealth proceeds tax amendment is grounded in a simple principle. If we're asking working Vermonters to carry the weight of funding for our public education system, then those who derive the greatest benefit from wealth, particularly passive income from their wealth, should also contribute their fair share. It's estimated that the wealth proceeds tax that we propose would generate approximately $75 million annually as an additional source of revenue for the education fund. This additional investment into Vermont's education fund would lower property taxes for working Vermonters and help to rebalance one of our most regressive taxes. This week, we've heard from Vermonters across the state who are asking us to take up fair, balanced tax policy. Vermonters who are feeling the strain of rising costs and want to see a system that asks everyone to contribute their fair share. I want to thank those Vermonters for organizing, speaking up, and engaging in this process. Your voices matter, and they're being heard in this building. I also want to thank House leadership for working with my colleagues and me to find a constructive path forward. We've reached an agreement that this proposal, as well as my colleagues' related amendment to H 933, will be taken up by the House Ways and Means Committee for testimony and a vote this year. That's an important commitment. It means this idea will receive thoughtful, thorough consideration that it deserves with the benefit of public input and committee deliberation. Madam Speaker, I look forward to continuing this work and to potentially advancing fair, sustainable tax policy in the weeks ahead. And so with that understanding and with appreciation for the good faith effort to move this conversation forward, I ask leave of the House to withdraw the amendment at this time.
Absent objection, leave is granted. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 949. An act relating to homestead property tax yields, the non-homestead property tax rate, and technical changes to education finance.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill. Members, now we will turn to House Bill 944, which is an act relating to the fiscal year 2027 transportation program and miscellaneous changes to laws related to transportation. The bill was introduced by the Committee on Transportation. The member from Swanton, Representative Walker, will speak for the committee. In affecting the revenue of the state, the bill was then referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, which recommends that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Fairhaven, Representative Canfield, will speak for that committee. And then carrying an appropriation, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the bill ought to pass when amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means. The member from Burke, Representative Kinsetska, will speak for that committee. Please listen to the third reading of the bill. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 944, an act relating to the fiscal year 2027 transportation program and miscellaneous changes to laws related to transportation.
Members, I'm going to take, will the House stand at ease since we have members in the well of the House? I just want to make sure that the member has the full attention of members on the floor. Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? I would like to remind members that the documents that were on the table are also available in your email. With that, member from Swanton, will the House please come to order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I guess everybody that wanted it has got their budget on a page or appropriations overview from the well. I apologize for the cold and for the exciting, distracting news that I received today. Anyway, so today is sugar season for most, but being on the Transportation Committee, it's a little tough because it's potholes and frost heaves. So this is the time we hear the most from our constituents out there. But in some ways, it's good and bad, brings a lot of attention. I would like to start out by reminding everybody in the body that back February 22nd to 24th, Winter Storm Hernando hit our neighbors in Massachusetts and Rhode Island significantly, and they, both the governor of Massachusetts and the governor of Rhode Island, using the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, called on help from Vermont. And within 24 hours, the Agency of Transportation rolled out 32 people, 12 of the large plow trucks, trailers, multiple full-size loaders, pickups, plows, and mechanics vans, and spent a week digging out our neighbors in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And in one situation in Massachusetts, the state police contacted the Agency of Transportation payloader that was there, and the loader driver had to plow out and hammer out through the snow to a neighborhood where there was a 9/11, there was a medical emergency, a 9/11 call, and the services were able to get there. So it was pretty significant and pretty major. And I want to start there as an incredible positive. We will, as a state, receive about $1 million in reimbursement for the work that we did in Rhode Island and Massachusetts back to the T funds. Now, on the sad or the difficult side of that, to bring you what most of my presentation will be about, one of the people that participated in that in their time in Rhode Island, when they got back in their mailbox was their reduction in force letter. The Agency of Transportation, as you all know, has been facing, and Transportation Fund has been facing significant financial challenge for several years. And we have been warned in this body of a hole that we're going to be digging out as a whole state next year that might be $30 or $40 million. When the Agency of Transportation went to put their budget together this year, they were already in a $33 million hole that they had to deal with. So last fall, September, during the fiscal meeting and during the presentation, because the drop in revenue had triggered an event that had the meeting of the financial portion of the state, there was a reduction in force in the fall, and that was 31 positions, 16 of which were filled and 15 were vacant. And then when this budget was presented, as revenues continue to be flat, an additional 31 positions, 19 of which were filled and 12 were vacant, leaves us in the less than 6 months, or about 6 months, 62 positions, 35 of which were filled and 27 which were vacant. There are 35 Vermonters that are no longer working at the Agency of Transportation for an estimated annual savings of over $8 million. I would strongly urge you to understand that just one agency faced a $33 million hole. I hope we can make it up in the state's $30 million hole for next year without having to go as difficult decisions that the agency has made. That $8 million savings is part of the $33 million hole that needs to be addressed. The rest of that piece was made up in delays of over $6 million in projects that we're bidding will be put out to a later time. Another $12 million will be using something called an indirect cost rate, which is a accounting measure that is used only in the most difficult of financial times, that is allowed by the Federal Highway Administration, where you're basically taking T-fund monies that should otherwise be spent on construction projects, and will allow the agency, through a significant accounting manipulation, to use money to pay overhead costs that are not directly related to a project. So you have supervisors and engineers that are working on multiple projects that are indirect costs that will be able to be paid with federal dollars. And it'll take significant work, but it'll save $12 million this year, and they're estimating to have to use it again in next year's budget, the year after, for another $12 million. So you add up some additional savings in there in terms of overtime cuts, and you'll see a $1.9 million change at the DMV, where the plan will be to start charging Vermonters for the use of credit cards on their Now My DMV account, whereas currently we absorbed $2 million in credit card charges. You will see a reduction in the activities of mowing and of tree removal. You will see a reduction in maintenance activity. You'll see a combination of work around overtime. All of those combinations of the 6 and the 12 and the 8 and the piece will get you to that $33 million hole. $33 million in one agency. We're facing $33 million as a state next year. So the next thing I'd like to point out is that on your budget on a page, when I ask people what they want to know about the transportation budget, the entire amount is $934 million. That is about 10% of the entire state budget. $332 million of that is T-funds. How do we spend that $332 million of T-funds? 1/3 of it is in maintenance. That is your snow plowing, that is your ditching, that is your road mowing, that is your vehicles that you see. That is the most visible piece of what you see out on every vehicle and activity, out with the orange trucks everywhere all year round. And that's, you can see, is about this year is proposed at that's 33% of the total, 112, almost $113 million for that piece. The next largest piece one of the next largest piece is the money it takes to run the Department of Motor Vehicles. And then the next piece, 15% of the money, which totals out in T-funds at just shy of about $50 million, goes to the Sport Town Highway Aid, town structures, and Class 2 roads. The reason I wanted to point on that, if you look at the budget by fund and you look at town highways, which is down in B 914, 911, 913, 917, et cetera, you will see the spot. I want to highlight just a couple of them. Under town highway structures, you will see that $7.4 million is going to the towns for town highway structures. The requested amount in applications from the town for this fiscal year was 19.4 million, and we are funding them at 7.4 million. Under Class 2 roads, as an example, the request from the towns is $32 million, and we are funding them at 8.8 million. Just as a FYI for that piece of how the budget works in T funds. Those are formula funds. That's the maximum amount that that's the law says. That's how much the agency has to pass to them, and that's how much they get, and then it's distributed by formula or grant, depending on the particular program. The committee spent a significant amount of time sobering this legislature on the financial needs of the transportation fund, and there has been significant work done over the last several years. We have quite a bit further to go, but I appreciate you understanding, and I think that the 11-0 vote of the committee that'll be already referenced, but we referenced again, works us towards continued steps in that direction. So, Section 1 of the T-bill of H944 is this. Every member of the committee has got a little white book, and it's also on the website of the agency website. You can track every existing project, both in planning and in production and in construction or in right-of-way and where it's at. It's not a prop, I already checked. This is the actual law. When you go to Section 1, you will see that that is what they're referring when they say they're going to adopt what's called the White Book and all of the programs that are under planning and activity and construction in the agency. With that, Madam Speaker, I would yield to the member from Brownington for the next Section 2 through 6.
The member from Swanton yields to the member from Brownington.
Thank you, Chair Walker and Madam Speaker. This is a bare bones, only the facts summary of Section 2 through 6, and I kept in only the exciting parts. Section 2 repeals obsolete rules for municipal heavy equipment loan fund, which has been superseded by the statutes governing the municipal equipment and vehicle loan fund. Section 3 makes technical amendments to clarify provisions relating to Vermont standards for roadway design and the application of certain federal signage requirements to roadways with lower design speeds. Section 4 increases the contract amount below with the Secretary of Transportation. He may waive bonding requirements from $100,000 to $250,000. Also permits Secretary of Transportation to waive bonding requirements for temporary stabilization work during an emergency. Section 5 brings state into compliance with national bridge inspection standards regarding inspection, posting, and closures of bridges. Also establishes a new penalty of up to $1,000 for a person who violates the posting or closure of a bridge. Section 6 makes technical amendments for consistency and makes violation of a bridge posting or closure a traffic violation. I will now yield to Representative Tomlinson of Winooski. Thank you.
The member from Brownington yields to the member from Winooski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll be taking you through sections 7 through 9 of the bill, and that starts on page 10 of the bill. Section 7 amends the membership of the Public Transit Advisory Council. For context, the council advises the agency on matters related to public transportation, ensuring that policy, funding, and operational plans meet state needs. This section replaces the Community of Vermont Elders member with a member from AARP Vermont because COVE has dissolved. It eliminates the taxi service member because that position has not been filled for several years, and it combines representation of private bus operators and intercity bus operators into a single member. This is all by request of the agency. Section 8 amends Green Mountain Transit Authority's charter to clarify that they can raise revenue outside of their formula for municipal assessment. So that means they can negotiate directly with private entities and, if appropriate, directly with individual municipalities. To be clear, this will not replace their formula for assessment for member municipalities, but it would provide them far greater flexibility to find revenue sources other than from member municipalities. Examples of these additional revenue sources could include voluntary member contributions, grants, donations, and other non-assessment revenue. Section 9 amends the sunset of the agency's public-private partnership authority, extending it from July 2026 to July 2029. This authority was first implemented as a pilot and has already been extended once back in 2023. The agency requested this extension as there has been long been an interest in building a travel service center just south of the Canadian border on Interstate 89. And they are currently in the scoping phase for this project and expect that should funding be identified to advance it to construction, it would be structured as a public-private partnership engagement. Now I will yield to the member from Shelburne.
The member from Winooski yields to the member from Shelburne.
Madam Speaker, I will be reporting on sections 10 through 13. These sections propose a technical change to appeals of agency 1111 permits, improve the process for grant cancellations, provide flexibility to use federal funds for infrastructure construction, and facilitate the ability of communities to set lower traffic speeds. Section 10 amends the powers and duties of the Transportation Board when it hears appellate review of 1111 permits. An 1111 permit is required for any work in a state right-of-way, for example, a driveway. This change limits the ability to appeal to the applicant or permittee of the 1111 permit. Section 11 amends the Transportation Alternatives Program. This section proposes to increase the maximum amount of money that can be awarded through the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program from $300,000 to $600,000. The threshold is rising from $300,000 to $600,000 due to significantly higher costs for construction. Since 2020, 20 agency projects have required multiple funding awards to be completed, complicating progress and length of time to complete local projects. This section also removes the limitation stating that 50% of the grant program funds must be given to environmental mitigation projects related to stormwater and highways, and instead lets grants be issued for any eligible activity. Water quality projects, unlike transportation infrastructure projects like sidewalks, are eligible for other sources of money. This change keeps eligibility for environmental mitigation projects, but adds safe routes for non-drivers to the roster of eligible projects. Section 12, Fiscal Year 2027 Transportation Alternative Grant Program changes. This section proposes that in fiscal year 2027, grants up to a maximum of $1.2 million may be issued from the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program. This authority would only be granted in fiscal year 2027. In future years, the maximum grant award amount would revert to $600,000. The need for the one-time increase is an urgency to obligate $2.1 million in federal funds to eligible projects in FY27 or risk loss of these funds. The money in this program requires a 20% local match. The agency testified that $2.1 million in federal funds are left to obligate due to the project cancellations, primarily for salt sheds, a result of inadequacy of funding relative to increasing project construction costs. At the same time, there are growing unmet needs for sidewalks and bike lanes and other infrastructure to support pedestrians. We propose giving the agency discretion to fund eligible projects up to $1.2 million for FY27 to ensure these federal funds can be obligated and will be used to meet local needs in our towns. Eligible activities continue to include environmental mitigation, and we added infrastructure for safe routes for non-drivers. Section 13 addresses municipal transportation programs, their ongoing evaluation and identification of improvements. This section directs the Agency of Transportation to continue work in consultation with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies, on studies from the 2025 T-bill related to cancellation of locally managed projects and to identify potential efficiencies related to town highway aid and municipal grant programs. Regional planning commissions testified to us that many towns are struggling to maintain their road and bridge infrastructure. Madam Speaker, transportation is the backbone of economic activity in Vermont. Increasing aid to maintain town infrastructure and creating easier pathways to making the centers of our communities walkable and bikeable increases Vermonters' access to more opportunities, encourages local business, and reduces our emissions. Making Vermont downtowns and village roads slower and more walkable prepares these communities for housing that can be built on smaller properties and closer to the street, a pattern of development more cost-effective to build and serve with infrastructure. Dense walkable settings make transit services more cost-effective to provide. Transit gets people to jobs and healthcare services and helps older Vermonters live independently. Roads designed for slower, steady traffic are safe for all users and meet all needs. Traffic speeds impacts actual and perceived safety for people walking and biking. Traffic moving at consistent speeds, even when they are lower, reduces frustration for drivers. Section 13 directs the agency, in consultation with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, Vermont Association of Planning and Development, to examine laws related to setting speeds and to identify opportunities to simplify and clarify those statutes to meet local needs related to safety and context sensitivity, and requires recommendations for legislative action to be submitted in January 2027. Aligning transportation and land use policy will make it easier, faster, and less costly to retrofit roads to meet local needs in our communities and complements the very promising multimodal guidance under development at VTrans. Madam Speaker, I now yield to the member from Rutland City.
The member from Shelburne yields to the member from Rutland City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have the dubious pleasure of introducing sections 14 and 15, and the reason I say dubious is because it is about the pilot. It seems as if most of what I was going to say has been said, so I'll spare you that. But before my remarks, I would like to thank the body for the understanding of the dire need in which the Transportation Fund is in need of its funds. And you can tell that by eliminating some 60-odd positions, that they are serious about making their budget. I wish I could hear the same from other agencies within the state government. So basically, what we're trying to do in sections 14 and 15 is to do the same thing with town highways that we have done with the payment of taxes, payment in lieu of taxes to the various towns and cities. In the past, the pilot program had been a capricious type of general fund allocation, and the same way we found with the town highways. It was unpredictable. They could not plan for such work. To give you an idea of scale, the Agency of Transportation is in charge of about 3,200 miles of road. There are 14,000 miles of roads in our towns and cities. So what these sections do was to take half of the excess, the yearly excess that is found in the pilot fund, and dedicate it to town roads, and that would be one half. And it's something that we were thinking that would be a way to institutionalize a continued support of something that's very important that you've heard about here. And that concludes my remarks, and I now yield to the member from Brattleboro.
The member from Rutland City yields to the member from Brattleboro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be reporting on sections 16, 17, and 18. Section 16 appropriates $192,000 to continue the agency's partnership with Drive Electric Vermont, including their programs of education and outreach, incentive programs, charging infrastructure development, and stakeholder collaboration with dealers. Section 17 deletes the requirement that the agency ensure that the airport continue to be identified as a public use airport in the National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems until 2015. The agency is waiting for approval of the FAA to remove the airport from the national plan because it's a potential buyer who will upgrade the airport actually sooner and better than they would under the federal funding. Section 18 extends the sunset of authority to sell the airport from May 1st, 2026 to November 1st, 2027 because of waiting for the federal approval. And that's all for those sections, and I would like to yield to the member from Heinsberg.
The member from Brattleboro yields to the member from Heinsberg.
Madam Speaker, I'll be speaking about the mileage-based user fee, which is a new program. It's a little complicated. I'll try to keep it succinct because I know we all have a dinner to go to or family to see. Some may even have a hockey game they're trying to get to. So I'll get started and go as quick as I can. So these sections 19 through 22, bring to fruition several years of preparation by the Agency of Transportation, the legislature, and the administration to adopt a mileage-based user fee, or an MBUF. The MBUF will capture a road user fee, or you might prefer to say a mileage tax, which is presently paid by all internal combustion engine vehicles, known as the gas tax. So yes, this fee is a new tax and was included in the administration's proposed T-bill. The House Transportation Committee worked extremely hard to ensure this new tax on battery electric vehicles is as fair as possible, meaning battery electric vehicles will pay an equivalent road user tax that's presently paid by internal combustion engine vehicles. I will review the bill as passed unanimously out of the Transportation Committee, knowing that the House will consider an amendment offered by the Ways and Means Committee, which, if passed, will impact some of the specifics within the bill sections. Section 19 of this bill covers changes to 23 VSA Chapter 43. So subsection 4301 and 4302 define the purposes and update some definitions. Subsection 4303 outlines that the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles will institute and assess the mileage-based user fee based on the mileage traveled in a reporting period, which is typically 12 months. There are instances where the reporting period may be a little shorter, for example, if you sell your vehicle. The owner or lessee of a vehicle may pay their assessment in full or choose a pay-as-you-go option. Pay-as-you-go could be monthly or quarterly. This allows the fee to be paid over time, just like how you pay your gas tax. So you may pay the assessment up front, pay portions over the year, or pay up at the end of the reporting period. Subsection small e defines the most critical step in the mileage-based user fee bill. It defines the rate per mile. So the committee set a rate of 1.4 cents per mile. This was calculated as the overall average mileage rate for Vermont pleasure cars. So if you take all the pleasure cars, what they're paying for gas tax, that's the average. Internal combustion vehicles whose mileage per gallon is less than 23, they pay a little more, and those vehicles whose mileage per gallon is greater than 23 would now pay a little less. So again, our committee wanted the rate to be as fair as possible and decided to set this rate right in the middle. Subsection 4304 requires submission of mileage reports, which are typically between yearly inspections when vehicle mileage is already reported in your yearly inspection data. At the end of the reporting period, the Commissioner will assess the difference in actual miles driven to the amount paid over the reporting period. If there were less miles, the owner will be credited toward their next mileage-based user fee. If there were more miles, that amount will be assessed as an added fee. This section also provides processes to appeal an MBUF assessment and a process for a refund during a terminating event, such as if you sell your battery electric vehicle and you've overpaid your mileage-based user fee, you can get a check. Section 4305 provides for penalties for failure to pay an MBUF. Overdue balances can be assessed at interest of 1.5% a month, not to exceed a maximum of 18%. Subsection 4306 establishes a penalty if a battery electric vehicle owner fails to file a mileage report, for example, failed to get their vehicle inspected. They will be charged a default mileage equivalent to the 98th percentage of miles traveled by all registered pleasure vehicles. So this is greater than 2 times what the average battery electric vehicle mileage would be. Section 4307 permits the commissioner to suspend or refuse to renew registrations if fees are not paid or mileage reports are not filed. Section 4308 defines the powers of the commissioner, allowing them to implement this MBUF program. Additionally, it defines the processes for the DMV to take additional legal actions necessary to collect owed fees. 4309 permits and provides the process for an individual to appeal decisions of the commissioner. So that was section 19. Section 20 of this bill defines changes from the existing infrastructure fee, which is paid by battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles. The infrastructure fee for battery electric vehicles will go away since those vehicles will now pay an MBUF. The infrastructure fee for plug-in hybrid vehicles will remain. Collected infrastructure fees now will go directly to the Transportation Fund. It had previously been used to support electrical vehicle supply equipment or car charging grants administered by the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. Section 21 defines how we transition vehicles presently registered from the infrastructure fee to the MBUF. Some existing battery electric vehicles will have paid their infrastructure fee with their registration before the MBUF kicks in. This section provides for the MBUF assessment to start at the first annual state inspection, where the vehicle owner will be credited the $89 they had paid for the infrastructure fee. Section 22 takes any MBUF revenues generated in 2027, which won't be very much at all, maybe $500,000, during the transition time, and applies these funds to the general state aid for town highways. After this transition year, the MBUF revenue will go directly to the T Fund. I will now yield back to the representative from Swanton.
The member from Heinsberg yields to the member from Swanton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the committee members for their shared commitment to solving the long-term transportation funding and their commitments to their town and municipality highway struggles, which is a unanimous support amongst the committee. And also, each individual has a particularly focused policy area that they are dogged towards. So thank you to that. Madam Speaker, the vote of the committee was 11-0. Whoops. We heard from witnesses. My bad. Witnesses, over 24 plus background witnesses before that. We heard over 30 plus witnesses in our overall 3-month building of the omnibus bill, including multiple fiscal analysts from the Joint Fiscal Office, multiple counsels from the Legislative Council, or Office of Legislative Counsel, at least 20 people from the Agency of Transportation, including the Director of Policy Planning Intermodal, Director of Policy, the Public Transit Program Manager, the State Policy Director, excuse me, the Deputy Director of Finance and Administration, the Chief Engineer of the Highway Division, the Director of Maintenance. We heard from the Director of Central Garage. We heard Fiscal. It goes on forever, as well as Program Manager at Local Motion, the General Manager of Green Mountain Transit, Director of Planning at Green Mountain Transit, Director of Finance at Green Mountain Transit, Peckham Industries, Vermont Pavers, and continue through AARP and Manager of Environmental Policy and Sustainability, Agents of Transportation. Everybody can read all of that big list. Madam Speaker, your Committee on Transportation voted 11-0, and we ask for the body's support.
And now speaking for the Committee on Ways and Means, member from Fairhaven.
Madam Speaker, the Ways and Means Committee would like to thank the Transportation Committee for their hard work and dedicated energy they put into this bill. So a full fiscal note history is available on the fiscal tab of the bill page on the General Assembly website and can be pulled up through a bill number search on the JFO page as well as the Ways and Means webpage. The first instance of amendment is strikes sections 14 and 15, which would have allocated revenues from local option taxes in excess amounts necessary for recurring payments from the pilot fund to the general state aid for town highways. The second instance of amendment strikes section 19, which would have created the mileage-based user fee and replaces it with a revised subchapter relating to road usage charges. Changes to the chapter include: it changes the chapter title from mileage-based user fee to road usage charges and creates two subchapters related to the mileage-based user fee and a road usage charge for EV rental cars. It simplifies the mileage-based user fee program by eliminating provisions related to a pay-as-you-go program, which has not been designed yet, and a different payment structure for newly registered EVs. As previously mentioned, the $89 fee paid when registering your EV is eliminated, as this program it supported has been removed. All EVs will be assessed an MBUF, mileage-based user fee, in the same way under the amended language. It adds exemptions from the mileage-based user fee for state government vehicles, as well as for EV rental cars that are subject to road usage charge. It provides 45 days to appeal the amount of your mileage-based user fee instead of 15 days. It permits individuals to request a waiver of past due amounts or interest that has accrued on past due amounts for good cause or because of economic hardship. It eliminates language that duplicates provisions in other parts of Title 23 that will apply to the mileage-based user fee. It provides a right to an administrative appeal for the mileage-based user fee related to decisions or orders. It creates a road usage charge for EV rental cars equal to 1% of the rental charge. The third instance of amendment, it updates the transition provisions for EVs currently registered in Vermont to reflect the changes made to the mileage-based user fee in the second instance of amendment. The fourth instance of amendment requires the Agency of Transportation to submit a plan by February 15, 2027 to create the pay-as-you-go mileage-based user fee option for EV owners and lessees. It transfers $2.2 million from the Transportation Infrastructure Bond, or TIB fund, to the Transportation Fund. It allocates $1.7 million of the transferred amount to general state aid for town highways, which provides formula funding to all towns in the state based on the highway classes and the mileage within each town. This money is specified as being in addition to the current fiscal year 2027 allocation from state aid to town highways. The remaining $500,000 stays in the Transportation Fund and is to support any special money not collected in 2027 from EVs. The first odometer reading will be when the EVs receive their annual safety inspection in 2027. The next odometer reading will be upon their 2028 safety inspection. The Agency of Transportation will use these mileage readings to calculate miles traveled and assess the mileage-based user fee. Ways and Means heard from the Legislative Counsel, from the Office of Legislative Counsel, a fiscal analyst from the Joint Fiscal Office, a special fiscal officer, the Joint Fiscal Office, associate fiscal officer, Joint Fiscal Office, state policy director, Agency of Transportation, the chair of the House Committee on Transportation, the director of Policy, Planning, and Intermodal Development Division, Agency of Transportation. On a favorable vote of 9-1-1, your Committee on Ways and Means approved this amendment. Thank you.
Now, member from Swanton.
Madam Speaker, your House Transportation Committee heard the Ways and Means Amendment and recognizing that Ways and Means has a significant more experience in taxes and fees, and having heard from Legislative Counsel, with a concern about the mileage-based user fee not perhaps arriving into the transportation fund as soon under the new program. That was listened to and put together, but given the experience of the Ways and Means Committee and their work with fees and taxes, your committee voted 7-4 to support the Ways and Means Amendment.
And now speaking for the Committee on Appropriations, member from Burke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Appropriations Committee received testimony from Legislative Counsel regarding H944 that specifies a series of recommendations and changes as presented in today's calendar, and we also heard from the chair of the Transportation Committee. The Appropriations Committee also received testimony from the Joint Fiscal Office outlining the fiscal impact within specific sections of the bill, also as presented here today. With a vote of 11-0-0, your Committee on Appropriations recommends that the bill ought to pass when amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means. Thank you.
So the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means? Are you ready for the question? Member from Berry City.
I hate to belabor this, but I'm going to. So regarding the removal of section 14 and 15, I do need to note that Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns is vehemently opposed to this. This is money that can go to fix our roads, the ones that we drive on. This is the money that should go to our municipalities to fix them, or to the roads to be fixed. Again, I drive through Barry and there's potholes. I drive through Montpelier, there's potholes. That is the reason why we should have that section 14 and 15 in there. And I strongly urge the body to consider that as we're voting for this.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means? Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, may I inquire of the presenter of the Ways and Means Amendment?
The member from Fairhaven is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, this amendment strikes out a new appropriation to municipalities from the pilot fund, which is different than in the miscellaneous tax bill, which was just changing who was paying for an appropriation, existing appropriation to municipalities. Can you explain to me the rationale behind those two decisions with regard to the pilot fund?
We were advised by Joint Fiscal Office to be cautious with the pilot fund. In this case.
Okay. It's late. I don't want to belabor, but I just want to make sure that I understand. So this, what was included by the Transportation Committee was a new appropriation from the pilot fund to communities as opposed to in the miscellaneous tax bill, which was just shifting an existing cost from the general fund and the education fund to the pilot fund. And so this amendment was opposed. I'm just trying to understand what the difference is.
Well, I think that even though this money from the transportation's approach, it was still going to go through the municipal highway program, correct? It wasn't being appropriated directly to them.
Madam Speaker, the hour is late. My question remains, but I think it can wait until tomorrow. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means? Member from Burlington.
May I ask the member from Fairhaven a question or two?
The member from Fairhaven is interrogated.
I have heard from electric vehicle owners across Vermont, actually, and most of them agree that a mileage charge in lieu of a gas tax makes absolute sense, and most are completely willing to pay for their use of the roads. However, there is concern about the fact that, like many Vermonters, some EV owners spend the winter in Florida, and they drive from here to Florida in their electric vehicles, and they drive around Florida all winter, and then they drive back to Vermont. And there are some states which charge transportation tax on the electricity used to charge at public charging stations, and these include Pennsylvania and Georgia, states through which a Vermonter might pass on their way to Florida. So those Vermonters will be getting double taxed on the miles they travel in those states. And I wonder if either the Committee of Ways and Means or the Transportation Committee considered any ways to avoid that sort of double taxation and avoid having EV drivers pay Vermont mileage tax on miles they travel outside of the state.
Thank you for the question. We didn't actually address the long distance travel. We talked about going from state to state. Let's say you were going to go someplace in New York, and it was explained that when you get your gas with a gas vehicle, you get your gas here. You just happen to drive it in New York. But I don't know about that long distance, and I will try to have something for you before third reading.
Thank you, member.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means? Are you ready for the question? Member from Newbury.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Kind of on the fly here. Is the amendment divisible?
Member, could you let us know what parts you're speaking to?
I'm just thinking of the voting on the first instance with section 14 and 15 as one, and then the rest of the amendment as another.
It is divisible.
Perfect. I'd like to do that.
Member, do you have a preference in order?
I do not.
Okay, so members, the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendment, which is 14 and 15, and then we will take the others. Are you ready for the question? Member from Brattleboro.
Madam Speaker, can we take a brief recess?
The House will stand in recess for a moment. Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Will the House please come to order? Members, the question at hand is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendment, which is sections 14 and 15? Member from Brattleboro.
Madam Speaker, when your Committee on Ways and Means amended the language from the Transportation Committee regarding with sections 14 and 15, we very much wanted to continue to meet the needs of the Transportation Committee, and more importantly than the Transportation Committee, all of our towns and our town highway funds. And so in consultation with the chair of the committee and our incredible staff team, we found another source of transportation revenue from within the world of transportation funds, and we're able to put significantly more money towards our town highway funds than the bill had as it came to us. And so our towns will be better off as a result of and we'll have more money for the roads than the bill had before your Ways and Means Committee amended it. And so I encourage you, Madam Speaker, and the body to please vote yes on each section of your Ways and Means Committee amendment. Thank you. Including this section, 14 and 15. Please vote yes.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendment, which is sections 14 and 15? Member from Swanton.
Madam Speaker, I know there was still quite a bit of noise in the chamber. Before we vote, I would ask you to explain the vote again, what a yes and a no is for. Also, as the House Transportation Committee did hear the Ways and Means Amendment, and I would say that I would remind that we did vote in favor of the amendment 7-4.
Members, the amendment has been divided. We are taking up sections 14 and 15 up first for votes, and then I will ask the second question will be on all other remaining parts of the amendment. So the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendment, which is sections 14 and 15? Are you ready for the question, member from Georgia?
And I'm also confused, Madam Speaker. So is this correct that we are voting on the amendment, the section 14 and 15 as it's printed by us? I thought the question was to delete as printed by us.
It's as delete as recommended by your committee.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Right, so member, it is to delete sections 14 and 15 as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means. Are you ready for the question?
Madam Speaker.
The member from Fairfax requests that when the vote is taken by roll, when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll. Is the member sustained? The member is sustained. When the vote is taken, it will be taken by roll. Will the House please come to order? Members, the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendment, which is sections 14 and 15? Are you ready for the question? If so, member from Dover.
This is a tricky question for me, Madam Speaker, because this is a growing fund, and I certainly do want to see these funds go back to our communities. So I'm really thinking hard about how I'm going to vote here. I'd like to really think about the development of this idea and the overall use. So tough question.
Are you ready for the question, member from Swanton?
Madam Speaker, I'd like to see if I can help clarify to some of the people out there. The committee on the original T-bill on sections 14 and 15 was looking for 50% of the annual surplus, not any current surplus or amount, but any 50% of any annual surplus after all payments, including the payments that were recommended in H 933. It was for 50% after all payments to the pilot fund, including everything else, which we had heard from the JFO could be somewhere between $200,000 and or $400,000 in the next coming year. So 50% of that would have been about $200,000. It would have been moving forward. There's no clear number yet as to exactly what that might be, but it would be about $200,000. The Ways and Means Amendment for the town highway aid is about $1.7 million. So I do want to clarify that under the current Ways and Means Amendment, it would be more immediate relief to the town highway aid, which is the aid that is least restrictive in nature to the towns and municipalities, that they can use it with the most flexibility in their town highway budget.
Member from Dover, do you wish to speak a third time?
If I may, Madam Speaker.
Absent objection, the member may go forward.
I just want to clarify, Madam Speaker. I'm going to be voting no, but I think that the Ways and Means Committee and others need to work with the towns and VLCT on how to deal with this surplus. It is not the state's money, and this actually seems like a proposal that has some merit. It would return new money to our towns. Thank you for letting me speak a third time.
Are you ready for the question? If so, will the clerk please call the roll?
Arsenault Williston.
Yes. 1 minute. Will the House please come to order? Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? I would like to remind members that we are in the middle of a roll call vote. Members and guests are prohibited from using computers, phones, or any type of an electronic device. Please refrain from the passing of notes and conversation during a roll call. And when the clerk calls your name, please answer in a loud and clear voice so the clerk can accurately record your votes. The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Ways and Means in the first instance of amendments, which is sections 14 and 15? Will the clerk please continue to call the roll?
Austin of Colchester. Bailey of Hyde Park. Bartholomew of Heartland. Hartley of Fairfax. Rebecca of Winooski. Byrong of Virgins. Bishop of Colchester. Black of Essex. Bloomley of Burlington. Booton of Berry City. Okay, sorry. I skipped ahead. I'm so sorry. Can I start over? I'm going too fast. I'm going to do it over. Boston, Westminster. Bosch of Clarendon. Boot and Berry City. Thank you, sorry about that. Boyden of Cambridge. Brady of Williston. Brannigan of Georgia. Brigham of St. Albans Town. Brown of Richmond. Burdett of West Rutland. Burke of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Burkhardt of South Burlington. Burrows of West Windsor. Burdick Cabot. Kimball St. Johnsbury. Canfield of Fairhaven. Karis Duncan of Whitingham. Karis Duncan of Whitingham, is that a no? Thank you. Casey Montpelier. Casey Hubbardton. Chapin of East Montpelier. Charlton of Chester. Christie of Hartford. Gina of Burlington. Coffin of Cavendish. Cole of Hartford. Conlon of Cornwall. Cooper of Pownell. Corcoran of Bennington. Critchlow of Colchester. Tamara of Venusburg. Dickinson of St. Albans Town. Dobrovich of Williamstown. Dodge of Essex. Dolan of Essex Junction. Dolgan of St. Johnsbury. Donahue of Northfield. Duke of Burlington. Durfee of Shaftesbury. Eastus of Guilford. Emmons of Springfield. Feltus of Linden. Galfetti of Berrytown. Garifano of Essex. Coleman of Rockingham. Goodnow of Brattleboro. Ghostland of Northfield. Granning of Jericho. Greer of Bennington. Gregoire of Fairfield. Hengo of Berkshire. Harpel of Glover. Harvey of Castleton. Hedrick of Burlington. Higley of Lowell. Holcomb of Norwich. Hooper of Randolph. Houghton of Essex Junction. Howard of Rutland City. Howland of Rutland Town. Hoyt of Hartford. Hunter Manchester. James of Manchester. Kosenska of Burke. Keyser of Rutland City. Kimball of Woodstock. Klepner of Burlington. Kornheiser of Brattleboro. Krasnow, South Burlington. Labor of Morgan. Lally of Shelburne. Lalone of South Burlington. Lamont of Morristown. LaRush of Franklin. Lipsky of Stowe. Logan of Burlington. Long of Newfane. Leaders of Lincoln. Luno of St. Albans City. McGuire of Rutland City. Malay of Pittsford. Marcotte of Coventry. Mazin of Thetford. McCann of Montpelier. McCoy of Pulteney. McFawn of Berrytown. McGill of Bridport. Mickless of Milton. Mahalia Callis. Minier of South Burlington. Morgan Ella Milton. Morgan Emma Milton. Morris of Springfield. Morrissey of Bennington. Morrow of Weston. Rowicki of Putney. Nelson of Derby. Nielsen of Brandon. Niagara of Bennington. North of Ferrisburg. Noyes of Wolcott. Nugent of South Burlington. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Odie of Burlington. Oliver of Sheldon. Olson of Starksboro. Page of Newport City. Parsons of Newberry. Pezzo of Colchester. Pincinel of Dorset. Pouch of Heinsberg. Powers of Waterford. Priestley of Bradford. Pritchett of Pollitt. Wimby of London. Rachelson of Burlington. Sackwitz of Randolph. Shia Middlebury. Sheldon of Middlebury. Sebelia of Dover. Southworth of Walden. Squirrel of Underhill. Steady of Milton. Stevens of Waterbury. Stone of Burlington. Sweeney of Shelburne. Taglavia Corinth. Taylor of Milton. Taylor of Mendon. Tomlinson Winooski. Torrey Moortown. Walker of Swanton. Watts of Zachaberry City. Waters Evans of Charlotte. Wells of Brownington. White of Waitsfield. White of Bethel. Winter of Ludlow. Wood of Waterbury. Yakavoni of Morristown. Bailey of Hyde Park. Boslin of Westminster. Brigham of St. Albans Town. Burdick Cabot. Chapin East Montpelier. Christie of Hartford. Dodge of Essex. Lamont of Morristown. Luno of St. Albans City. Malay of Pittsford. McCann of Montpelier. Nicholas of Milton. O'Brien of Tunbridge. Sheldon of Middlebury. Southworth of Walden. Steady of Milton. Taylor of Milton. And Winter of Ludlow.
For purpose of explanation, member from Waitsfield.
I vote in support of the Ways and Means Amendment, deleting the transfer of half the pilot surplus funds to town highway aid. However, towns across Vermont need assistance maintaining their roads and structures now and in the coming years. As a body, we need to address this growing problem.
Member from Fairhaven.
Madam Speaker, may I change my vote?
You may.
Canfield of Fairhaven.
Members, please listen to the results of your vote. Those voting yes, 84. Those voting no, 46. And you have amended the bill in sections 14 and 15. Now the question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee in Ways and Means in the second instance of amendment, which is all the remaining sections? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill in the second instance of amendment, which is all the remaining sections. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? Member from Cavendish.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could, may I interrogate the presenter of the bill, especially sections, I believe it's 18.
The member from Brattleboro is interrogated. Member from Brattleboro.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Yes.
I believe it's section 18, starting the mileage use tax for the EVs.
My apologies, member. It's not the member from Brattleboro, it's the member from Heinsberg. The member from Heinsberg is interrogated.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was wondering if the members took testimony from battery electric vehicle owners, especially lower income ones that were encouraged to purchase these in the first place.
I don't remember specific testimony from low-income battery electric vehicle owners.
Thank you, member. Madam Speaker, this body encouraged people to go green, to buy electric vehicles. We enticed them to, we subsidized, we helped them, we helped people put in chargers, we helped towns put in chargers. Encouraged lower leases on these. I'm reminded of when we did this, people looking to get help putting chargers in because they couldn't charge them at their apartments. A single mother with her child sitting in a cold car because the charging station was so far away from the house. Struggling, did this because the car was affordable. If we're gonna put a mileage use tax on, it should have come in the beginning and not as a slap in the face to people who are trying their best to get by. And now we're going to charge them for road use tax on miles they don't even drive on our roads if they go over to New Hampshire, which many do because they can't even afford to buy groceries in this state. I know we're desperate for money, but did we even consider, we talk about the most vulnerable, those on fixed incomes, those that we encourage to buy an electric vehicle because it was cheaper. And now we're going to say, hey, I know you're not rich, but you're going to pay your fair share. It's ridiculous to me. Having this section in there is a slap in the face to the people that bought EVs. And let me be clear, I don't own an EV. I'll never own an EV. I think they're worthless. But people did it because they could afford them to have reliable transportation. And now we're going to slap them with a fee. It's ridiculous. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from Brattleboro.
Madam Speaker, in Ways and Means, when we took testimony on this portion of the bill, I was quite concerned about the income on the low-income folks who recently purchased EVs. And while we did not take testimony from them, I knew this was a proposal from the administration. And so I asked I believe it was the commissioner, but it might have been the deputy commissioner, I'm sorry, about the governor's proposal to what I considered a new fee. And that's something we discuss quite a bit in Ways and Means. And so I wanted to understand better from the administration's perspective how this new fee fit into their plans. And I was told that it was considered adopting an existing revenue source, the gas tax, towards a modern technology, the electric vehicle. And so your Committee on Ways and Means and your Committee on Transportation accepted this new fee so that we can pay for our roads, and we ask for your support.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Member from Putney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Not sure if I could claim to be a low-income Vermonter, but I live on a legislator's salary, and I own an EV. And I can tell you, and I'm not sure how many low-income EV owners the previous speaker talked to, but I know a couple. I know myself The savings we make using electric is about 40% compared to what I did on when I owned a Ford Escape. And I'm fine paying my share for using the roads. I know we're falling short on what we need, and I do believe anyone that's going to drive a vehicle has a responsibility to pay that. The idea that we can make accommodations at some point would be a good thing, but as an EV owner, a driver, I can tell you the savings make up for more than what we might pay in a registration fee or a road use fee. And I know living on the New Hampshire border, whatever we're paying is a lot less than they're paying in New Hampshire. Your registration costs are 2 to 3 times in New Hampshire what they are in Vermont. As someone who used to have a business in New Hampshire and left says, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts there. They may say that taxes are lower, but overall they're not. So anyway, I'll be voting for this, and as an EV owner, I'm fine with paying my fair share.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I thank the member from Cavendish for bringing up the regressive nature of a tax like this on EV mileage. I will take issue with his assertion that electric vehicles are worthless, but the same is also true of the gas tax. It is regressive, and I agree that we as a body should commit ourselves to finding a way to protect lower income Vermonters from the regressive nature of taxing miles or taxing gallons.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, at this time, we are going to postpone the remaining bills on the calendar today. Will the House please come to order? I will be starting at the very top of the action calendar for today at 9:41 and then go down the calendar. So bill reporters, please be ready. We'll start with House Bill 941, which is an act relating to the municipal regulation of agriculture. Member from Shaftesbury.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 941 for one legislative day.
The member from Shaftesbury moves that we postpone action on House Bill 941 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 941 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 657, which is an act relating to enabling unaccompanied homeless youth to obtain certain services without parental consent. Member from Northfield.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 657 one legislative day.
The member from Northfield moves that we postpone action on House Bill 657 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 657 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 727, which is an act relating to sustainable data center deployment. Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, I move we postpone action on H 727 one legislative day.
The member from Dover moves that we postpone action on House Bill 727 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 727 for one legislative day. Up next is House Bill 935, which is an act relating to emergency management. Member from Berkshire.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 935 one legislative day.
The member from Berkshire moves that we postpone action on House Bill 935 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 935 for one legislative day. Up next is House Bill 938, which is an act relating to establishing the Vermont Homelessness Response Continuum. Member from Rutland City.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on 938 for one legislative day.
The member from Rutland City moves that we postpone action on House Bill 938 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 938 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 67, which is an act relating to legislative operations and government accountability. Member from Charlotte.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 67 for one legislative day.
The member from Charlotte moves that we postpone action on House Bill 67 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 67 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 567, which is an act relating to unclaimed property, state retirement systems, and capital debt. Member from Virgins.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 567 one legislative day.
The member from Virgins moves that we postpone action on House Bill 567 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 567 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 650, which is an act relating to educational technology products. Member from Jericho.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone action on H 650 for one legislative day.
The member from Jericho moves that we postpone action on House Bill 650 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 650 for one legislative day. Next is House Bill 772, which is an act relating to residential rental agreements, eviction procedures, and the creation of the Positive Rental Payment Credit Reporting Pilot Program. Member from Calais.
Madam Speaker, I move that we postpone consideration and action on 772 for one legislative day.
The member from Calais moves that we postpone action on House Bill 772 for one legislative day. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have postponed action on House Bill 772 for one legislative day. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Will the House please come to order? Are there any announcements? Member from Essex Junction.
No, Essex. Madam Speaker, I move that the remarks from the member from Waterbury from earlier today honoring the member from Berry Town be journalized.
The member from Essex moves that we journalize the remarks of the member from Waterbury. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have journalized the remarks of the member from Waterbury. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Friday, March 27th at 9:30 a.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Friday, March 27th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and this body stands in adjournment until tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.